everyone, this is Rabbitearsblog and welcome to another general discussion series. So today's general discussion is going to be on the pros and cons of nostalgia. And before I get into my thoughts about this, here are a few words from the channel. Alright everybody, it's time to get on the social media train. Want to chat with me in 100 words or less? Then check out my Twitter account. Want to talk about movies, TV shows, and video games within the group? Then check out my Facebook account. Want to check out some of my ultra cool fan art? Then check out my DeviantArt page. Want to get the lowdown on everything that's happening on this channel? Then check all of the above. And now, we return to our regularly scheduled program. So what happens when you grew up with a franchise during your childhood and you had fond memories of said franchise? Well, that's called nostalgia. Nostalgia is basically when you have fond memories for something in the past. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about the pros and cons that nostalgia can have on the entertainment industry. So let's start with the pros. So the first pro about nostalgia is that it could bring more attention to an older property. So say that you grew up with a TV series in the 1980s and you enjoyed watching that show when you were a child. So now that you're an adult and you're using social media a lot, you wanted to talk about your favorite show from the 1980s. And so once you start talking about your favorite show from the 1980s and you talk about how much you really like that show, that other people on social media will discover how much you enjoyed that show and they want to check out that older show too. And then bam, a lot of people know about this older show because you were talking about it, and it can lead to TV industries and the movie industry into trying to revive this older property just because a lot of people are talking about this older property because of word of mouth. Another pro with nostalgia is that it could bridge different generations together. So say that you grew up with a franchise that's been around for 50 years. So not only have you grown up with this franchise that's been around for a long time, but so has people that were born after you were born, or so has the people that were born before you were born. And because all these different generations grew up with the same show, or at least grew up with the same franchise, then they can all get together and talk about how much they really love this franchise, and you be able to have a lot in common with a lot of fans who are also fans of the franchise that you grew up with. Now let's talk about some of the cons that dealt with nostalgia. So the first con that deals with nostalgia is that it could cause a resistance to new changes in the franchise. So say that you grew up with this franchise since your childhood and Hollywood decided that they wanted to bring back this older franchise, but they want to reboot this franchise or they want to make new additions to this franchise. Well, you might be one of those people who don't want any changes to happen to the franchise that you grew up with, and either that can lead to you not wanting to check out any of the newer takes on the franchise, or you could be one of those people who make up lies about said new take on the franchise despite the fact that you've never seen the new take before, and that could really hurt the franchise. Like, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to check out the new take on the franchise because the content of the new take is something that you don't like, but it's another thing when you lie about the newer take on the franchise without watching that new take first, and when you spread such lies across the board or across the fandom, and that could possibly ruin the franchise for anybody who was interested in checking out the franchise or were interested in checking out the new take on the franchise. Another issue that can happen with nostalgia is that it could cause a rift within the fandom. As I mentioned before, if you're dealing with a franchise that's been around for over 50 years or something like that, and you have many different generations growing up with this show, then yes, it could cause a lot of people to come together, but it could also cause a rift between the fandom because you have all these different generations growing up with the same franchise. However, they all grew up with very different takes on the franchise. It could lead to lots of arguments about which take on the franchise was better, the original take or the newer take, and this could lead to a lot of fights within the fandom. So overall, nostalgia is a pretty interesting thing. On the one hand, it could bring back a lot of older properties to the entertainment industry, and it's great introducing an older franchise to a newer generation. But on the other hand, it could cause some problems, such as causing a rift between the fandoms if the franchise had went through so many different takes, and each person who grew up with a different take on the franchise might come to blows with each other about which take on the franchise was the best. But despite all that, it's always important to love the things that you grew up with. And even if your favorite franchise goes through a lot of changes throughout the years, it's always nice to try to give a new take on the franchise a chance, even if it might not come out good or it might come out good. It really depends on how well the creators of the franchise are able to handle the new takes on the franchise, and whether or not they're able to write the new additions to the franchise in such a memorable and intriguing way. So those are my thoughts about nostalgia as a whole, and tell me in the comments down below, what do you think about nostalgia? What are some of your favorite TV shows, movies, or video games that you grew up with as a child that went through a lot of changes over the years? And do you think that some of these changes were good for the franchise, or do you think that they were bad for the franchise? Please let me know in the comments down below. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Rabbitearsblog, and I'll see you guys later. Hey guys, like this video? If you want to check out more crazy content from this channel, then please hit that big old colorful subscribe button. And if you're feeling extra generous, then please support me through Patreon so I can make more awesome content for this channel.